Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Josh Winiarski. Hopefully you enjoyed that little commercial. Today I'm going to be breaking it down, showing you how exactly the sausage is made so that you can make something similar. You don't need a fancy high-speed camera, you don't need an expensive studio. I shot this on a Canon 80D in my garage. Let's get into it. Alright, so I'm currently on my way to go pick up either some laminate or vinyl flooring. I'd tell you what the difference is, but I honestly don't know. But hopefully, I can find something that's cheap and looks good. Alright, so I just picked up the backdrop paper. A little spendy, but I think it's gonna look good. I just need to run to Walmart real quick, grab coffee Keurig cups, and like a generic white mug, just because I think that'll look the cleanest. And then we'll be ready to shoot this thing. Okay, so as you can see, there's not a lot to work with. The lighting is terrible. I've got a key light and a fill light set up. That's it. I've turned off all the lights because our garage lights are terrible for video. I've got an ugly backdrop. It's a little dirty. And I've got like a gray card table. This thing is fabric. It's kind of rickety. Definitely not the best tools for the job. This video is not to showcase how I've got a bunch of cool tools, a bunch of good gear, my own studio. Because I don't. With a little bit of spending money and a lot of creativity, we're gonna make this still look professional. So admittedly, I spent a little bit more on this project compared to something like my last commercial, which was under $5. Check that out, I'll throw a card on screen. But here's what I bought. So I picked up some 7mm Saratoga hickory laminate flooring. Don't ask me what that means, for $23.33. I got a black roll of paper, 48 square feet, for $8.24. Kinda spendy. 24 pack of coffee K-cups, $12.94. Also a little spendy. Plain white mug, $1.02. Not too bad. The grand total I've spent so far for this project is $45.53. Again, a little bit spendier, but essentially everything is gonna be reusable. The laminate flooring I'm using for the surface, I'm gonna use this for plenty of projects to come. The black roll of paper, as long as I don't destroy it, I can use this for a backdrop again. This white mug, I'll just start using for coffee. And the coffee itself, I'm gonna drink. So for the most part, I've got everything I need now to make this look kinda half decent. It's always so much fun seeing kind of a dirty garage transformed into like a pretty good set. It didn't take very long. It took a little bit of money, a little bit of creativity, but now we've got essentially a professional studio to make a little commercial in. So that's actually all I've got time for right now. I'm gonna head off to work, but next is gonna be shot listing and then actually trying out some of the crazy shots I've got envisioned to just see if they're even possible. Now, as far as shot listing goes, I like to keep it pretty simple. For a project like this, I really don't get very specific. There's no lens choices, no camera movements, no description. I literally just wrote down a couple things in this notebook. K-cup falling, K-cup rolling, water pour in, close lid, brew. Every single one of those was a shot. I don't write too much. The idea for me with a short little project like this, it's just me working on it. I've got everything in my head. I just don't want to miss any of the shots I planned. And for that, having a shot list is helpful, but I definitely don't go super in depth. It's not like there's a big crew on set, just me. What I did spend a lot of time on though, was testing shots. Alright, so I just got back from work, and my background is totally on the ground. I didn't even think this would be an issue. I'm really hoping there aren't any major creases. While this shot looks pretty decent just as is, you can definitely see all those wrinkles back here. So what I'm gonna try to do is flag off some of this light that's just spilling into the paper and get that background as dark as possible. That's the plan. I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna do it. Okay, so watch this. All I'm gonna do is stand to the side of the light. Blocking the light, not blocking the light. In classic Josh style, that is how you make your own barn doors, with cardboard, a little bit of tape, and some clamps. Low-key, I have a little bit of an obsession with just making things that looks terrible, but gets you good results, but like, yeah, it looks terrible. You know what I mean. No wrinkles, darkness, no wrinkles, darkness. We have that nice fade to black void back there. It looks pretty dang clean. When working on any low budget production, especially if it's just you working by yourself, you want to make sure it's actually possible to get off the shots you want. Ideally, you want the best, fanciest, most complex, crazy shots you can manage without making it too hard and it just looks super janky. And trust me, there are so many ideas that I thought would look really good, but I'm so glad I didn't follow through with. Testing them out and actually trying different shots when shooting saved me so much time in the edit because there were a lot of shots I just needed to cut. I couldn't pull them off. That being said, I still stepped outside my comfort zone a little bit and put some work into some shots I knew were going to be a pain in the butt, but were really going to help increase the production value of this commercial. There's a very good chance this shot takes me 100 tries. Okay, that's not that flippy cup shot, for instance, trying to keep my hand out of frame, throw it at the lens, get it to just brush the plane of focus and fall back down. That took me 40 minutes to get right. But I knew that was one of the biggest shots, one of the coolest shots of the sequence, so I wanted to put the time into it. Oh! That might have been the one. So bam, you've got all the clips you need. Now you just need to toss like 5 of them in the timeline, throw it all together, and you've got an edit worthy of the Super Bowl, right? Wrong. This 15-second commercial took me 15 hours to edit. Okay, so that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but this did take like a full Sunday, like 8 hours, to edit this commercial. And that's because this entire commercial is fake. That's right, a few of the shots in this commercial aren't even possible no matter who you are to get. Like, it just can't happen. But since I committed to this idea a few days ago, it was up to me, editing Josh, to figure it out. Okay, so shot 1, totally fine, pretty simple. Shot 2, fine. Shot 3, whoa! Let's watch that one real quick. So you can see that this clip is slowed down to 5%, which, spoiler alert, is not possible in the Canon 80D. Doing a little bit of math, if this is slowed down to 5%, that's 20 times slow motion on a 24 frames per second timeline. That means this must have been shot at 480 frames per second, but since my camera can't actually do this, I faked it in post. Okay, so here's the same clip. I took it out, just moved it down the timeline. This is what it looks like at 100% speed. I mean, kind of cool, but not at all what I was going for. Okay, so let's see what it looks like at 50% speed. So cool, but not exactly what we want. So let's start slowing it down to 25% speed. So it's closer to what we want, but insanely choppy. I mean, kind of terrible to look at. So what we can do is we can actually go to speed duration. We're gonna change our time interpolation to optical flow. Now, initially, it doesn't look like anything changed, but if we go to the beginning of the clip and hit I, go to the end of the clip and hit O, then we go up to sequence, render into out. Let me drag that on. So it's gonna render for a sec, and look how smooth this is. So what we actually did there is we used time interpolation, optical flow, and we're interpreting frames in between the frames we have. So it's actually giving us more slow motion than we shot in camera. Does that kind of make sense? Premiere Pro is actually guessing and adding frames in between the frames we have to give that smooth slow motion playback. Now, the problem with this is you are gonna get some artifacting, some kind of weird things. So if we go through frame by frame, like look at right where the highlights of the silver meet the K-cup. You get some weird artifacting going on, and that's because Premiere is literally just guessing at where to, I mean, it's making its own frames, essentially. It's guessing where those pixels are moving, especially kind of towards the end there, like around the text, and the highlights really mess with it. So in my edit, I speed ramped through all that so you don't really notice it, and then at the smoothest part, which for me was actually where it just comes perfectly into focus, I slowed it down, which looked really cool. Now, there's still going to be a limit to this. For me, it was at about 5%, so I could fake up to 480 frames per second. Now, this totally depends on the shot you have, what things are in focus. You kind of have to learn to work with the software. If you've ever used Warp Stabilizer, after a while you sort of get a sixth sense as to what shots are going to work, and it's the same thing with this technique. From what I've found, if the camera's locked off and there's not a lot of movement, it's really easy for Premiere to kind of interpret those frames. If it's a shaky camera and there's a lot going on, good luck. But this is definitely a fun, nice little trick to have in your toolkit if you don't have a camera that can shoot very high frame rates. There's also the advantage, if you were shooting 480 frames per second, you'd want a shutter speed of 1/960th, 1/960, which means you would need an insane amount of light. By doing this, I only needed enough light for 1/125, shooting in 60 frames per second, so there's actually some advantages to doing this regardless. Moving on to the next shot. Looks simple, but this is not physically possible. It's all fake. And when I say that, regardless of gear, regardless of your physical skill, your mental abilities, this just can't be done. Like, if you look at the Keurig from a side view, there's no possible way a cup could fall into place. There's like too much overhang, it just wouldn't work. So to get this effect, I actually had to combine two shots together. One of me just dropping the cup directly in front of the Keurig, and another one of the cup just sitting there. So the cup falls, and then it's sitting there. And that looks okay, but you'll notice I only have literally just 2 frames of the cup falling, and then it's just totally static. So I made my own third frame just to kind of sell the effect more. So now we're looking at my actual edit again. It goes 1, 2, and then this third frame, I've got one of the empty Keurig, and then I took the shot where this motion blur originally went past, so I couldn't use it without it looking weird, and I just drew a mask around it so it cuts there, and that kind of gave me a pretty janky third frame, but it looks pretty good in motion. But wait, there's more. See how this clip is red? That's because I had to take it into After Effects. There are actually 3 clips to get this one, 1 second shot, and this third one was a doozy. See, there's no way the Keurig would just magically shut on its own when something fell into it, so I found a random stick in my garage and shoved it closed as fast as I could. Then I took that shot into After Effects and rotoscoped out the stick frame by frame, completely removed it, and then I used Content Aware to generate some pixels where I just took out the stick. It was an extremely lengthy process, something I'm not very good at, but the end result looks pretty cool. From there, just some super clean shots, nice lighting, nice bokeh. I just think they look professional and clean. When it comes to shots like this is a pretty good image coming from a camera you can get for like $500 on eBay right now. All I really want to say about that is composition and lighting is everything. Like, dialing in that lighting, especially when you've got reflective surfaces, is so important. It really makes the shots look more professional. Like for this shot, I had a big soft key light hitting the cup, the coffee, and the Keurig, and I actually had an orange light hitting the background right in that bottom left corner. It's subtle, but I think it adds a nice little effect versus just the black background. And then just to tie it all together, I'd found some jazz music. I kind of had that coffee shop fun, a little bit retro vibes. So I just took the Keurig logo into Adobe Illustrator, traced it, curved it a little more to make it look kind of more like neon tubes, threw that into After Effects, made it look a little more neon, animated it with a little flicker, and bam, we've got a pretty cool logo. It might be a bit over the top. They might not want it if it was an actual commercial, but guess what? This is my YouTube video, and I think it came out okay. And just like that, bing bada boom, we got ourselves a commercial. Now, in all honesty, I'll be the first to tell you, this video is far from perfect. But if you've watched any of my videos before, you know that one of the biggest things I like to push on this channel is you should never let gear hold you back from just trying and making things. Learning new things, thinking outside the box, that's what's gonna separate you from everyone else more than anything else. And most of the time what you'll find is that things you think you can't do, you actually can, you just have to take a little bit of a different approach. This is without a doubt one of the most fun videos I've made in a while, so hopefully you get something out of it, and hopefully it inspires you to do something similar. As always, my name's Josh Winiarski, thank you so much for watching, have fun, stay creative, and I'll see you all in the next one.